Hi lovelies, hope you're having a lovely day. Super sunny here and lots of frost, so I can't wait to get out for a walk after lunch. So one of the things that I've been asked to talk about today is the pregnancy questions that you might feel a little bit too embarrassed to ask. And the chances are that a lot of them are probably not even what you thought they would be. And so it can be really fun to just get the mind going, get a bit creative with the kind of things that you really want to know the answer to, but maybe after 2 or 3 appointments or chats with your midwife or your health visitor or to your GP, whatever your antenatal ed is right now, maybe there's a part of you going, oh, cringe, I really want to ask that question. I should have already asked it, or I should know the answer. And it's all those shoulds that kind of keep us from actually going ahead and asking the question. So I've got some of those questions today from asking over the last few days, what would people love to know the answer to, but they're too cringy, embarrassing emoji coming up, too embarrassed to ask. And some of those questions include, will my baby fall out if I run? And the answer to that is no, because if babies fell out, can you imagine how much quieter the labour wards would be? There'd just be a little queue of pregnant ladies running around in a circle and all their babies falling out and being caught. So no, your baby is not going to fall out if you run. And if you've done lots of your pelvic floor exercises, nothing else is going to fall out either, because you're going to have a nice, good, strong pelvic floor, which is that muscular sling that holds everything in place, including everything that is in here and your baby. So will my baby drown if I swim whilst pregnant? Nope. Same answer, just as you don't take on a whole load of water when you are swimming normally, unless you're kind of breathing it in or it's getting in your ears, your baby is not going to drown. Your baby is very securely tucked in up there, and everything is closed and sealed off, and your baby's in their own little bubble of a world. When will my baby start moving? Now, there's loads and loads of apps out there, and there's loads of answers when you start to look on Google, and maybe you think you should already know this one. Like, does your baby start moving immediately when they're inside you? Does it wait to the very end? When does it happen? Lots of conflicting information when you just listen to what people are chatting about on a daily basis. And so the general rule is anywhere from about 16 weeks onwards, you will feel your baby start to move internally. If it's your first baby, that might be closer to 20 weeks. And if you haven't felt your baby move in any way, shape or form by 24 weeks at the very latest, then definitely speak to your midwife and they can do a wee wellbeing check and check that everything is happy in there. And what does it feel like when your baby's moving? Well, lots of different answers to this. One of the best words I heard this week, and it's going to be the way I describe it from now on, is twizzling. Twizzling. Isn't twizzling a great word? If that's not already in the dictionary, it should be. But people describe it as a swishing, as a swirling, as a flutter. Some people describe a bubbling sensation. So there's lots of different ways that you can feel your baby move. But yes, from 16 weeks onwards, if it is your second, third, fourth, any advancement on that baby, and if it's your first, then potentially closer to 20 weeks, but definitely by 24 weeks. A hot chocolate has found its way to me, which I'm very pleased about. Thank you.
There you go.
Lovely, thank you very much. And so some of the other questions we've got, will my baby be born with teeth? What do you think to that one? Loads of you might be going, no, of course my baby's not going to be born with teeth. But actually your baby might be born with teeth. It's quite an unusual thing, but sometimes it does happen. And the British Dental Association says that, let me just check, 1 in 2,000 babies is born with what they call natal teeth. And those are just little teeth that you can see above the gum line, but they tend not to have very strong roots, and so often they get removed. And of course, if you're breastfeeding, then it's not the best thing for you to have a baby with teeth early on. But yes, a baby can be born with teeth. Do I have to give birth in the position the midwife tells me? What do you think? I'm going to tuck into this hot chocolate. Look how nice this is. Do you have to give birth in the position the midwife tells you? What do you think? Super creamy. And the answer to that is no, you don't have to, but there might be a very good reason why your midwife is recommending that birth position. So it's always worth asking your midwife. They have lots of experience. They've been doing this for probably many years if you have a midwife who's been in her role for a long time. But it's always worth checking why they're recommending a particular position. Lying on your back with your feet in stirrups or lying on your back is not the best position when it comes to creating that space in your pelvis, to keeping a good steady blood flow down to the uterus, to the womb, to that muscle that's doing all of the contractions to help your baby to be born. So it's really good if you can have a more active birth. That can create up to 30% more space in your pelvis for your baby to be able to move, and it can also create a lot more comfort in your body. So you don't have to give birth in a specific position that the midwife tells you to, but it's always advisable to check with the midwife why they have recommended that. Maybe some of them are already trained in active births, in just different birth positions that can be more comfortable for you, or to create more space in your pelvis in a particular way. So it's always worth double checking why they suggested something. But you have the freedom to be able to move as much as possible, to create more space in your body and to find that comfort. When will I start to feel normal after birth? When your child leaves home? Just kidding. When will you start to feel normal? It's different for everybody, and what's normal? What's normal for you might not be what's normal for somebody else, and what's normal for you will become a new kind of normal, because let's face it, life is never going to be the same once you've got a baby in your arms. As soon as your baby joins you in the world, everything's going to be different. I was chatting to a young mum the other day, and she said that she'd gone to see her mum, and when she left the house she realised she was already in the car and her baby was still in her mum's house. And all that had happened was she was so used to having her baby in her body, just her baby in her bump, she didn't have to think about picking up her baby and going. The baby was part of her. She talked about her baby through pregnancy, her baby was just there. And then suddenly it was like, oh, my baby is another little being that I have to pick up and carry with me. And so it can be, when do you start to feel normal? It's just going to be different for everybody, but you will find your normal. Whether it all feels chaotic and crazy and everything else, you will find a new level for you, a new way of being, and just hopefully really, really enjoy being with your baby. And if you're struggling or you find it hard, there's always plenty of people available for you to speak to. So please, please don't ever feel like you're completely on your own. Drop me a message and we'll find somebody for you to chat to. And what is the fourth trimester? So sometimes it feels like everyone is talking about the fourth trimester, and then there's long periods where it feels like nobody has ever heard of the fourth trimester or is talking about it. What is the fourth trimester? The fourth trimester is the first 12 weeks after your baby is born. So it's that massive period of transformation and adjustment for you, where you are learning how to look after your little one, what their cues are for when they're hungry, when they're not hungry, when they want to be put down, when they want to be picked up, all of these different things, and you're just finding your own natural way of being. So that's what the fourth trimester is, and get as much support as you possibly can for the fourth trimester. I know it's all a bit different just now with lockdown, but if you can prepare as much in advance, if you're pregnant right now, as possible, get lots of food into the freezer, get your online deliveries already booked in and ordered so that you know that they're coming. Make sure that if you've got friends or family who can cook your meal and drop things off for you, ask them to do that. And ask for as much support as you can, even if that just has to be over the phone or online for now. But just make sure that you've got the support that you need, so that you know you are doing your very best and you're feeling as good as you possibly can, and allowing yourself to feel as well as you need to at the same time. Nobody's asking for you to be superwoman. We're just asking that you ask for help when you need it, and that you do your very best with your baby, who will know that you are, because they've already chosen to be here with you right now. Can sneezing hurt my baby? What do you think? Can sneezing hurt my baby? No. So just regular sneezing is not going to hurt your baby. What can happen is that you might develop a little bit of pregnancy rhinitis, which just means a bit of inflammation. And so you might find that you're a bit more stuffy, you've got some congestion, and you might be sneezing or blowing your nose more. It doesn't usually last for the whole of pregnancy, but it can just come and go. And so the actual act of sneezing itself doesn't cause any problems. If you have developed flu or anything that is making you consistently sneeze, then it is worth just mentioning to your midwife or to your doctor in case there's anything that they need to do for that. So let's have a wee look at the other questions I've got here. Is it safe for me to have sex whilst I'm pregnant? Yes. Nothing is going to poke your baby unless your partner is a magician. So yes, it's completely safe for you to go ahead and have sex when you're pregnant. So if you had a playground like I had, and there was always lots of jokes in primary school, probably which I didn't even understand at the time, or secondary school about babies with dents in their head and people with dents in their head, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Perfectly safe for you to go ahead and have sex when you're pregnant. Obviously, if your waters are broken, that's not advisable, because at that point then you are increasing a risk of infection. But the rest of the time, just go ahead and have lots of fun, because you're going to have to be working out different positions to be in, what's going to happen where. Just enjoy it. And obviously, if you feel like it. So, will my waters trickle or gush when my water breaks? And is it water? So no, it's not just water. It's not like your tap water. It's your amniotic fluid, which is quite often clear. It should be largely clear. If it is darker, then it quite often means that there's some meconium in the water, which just means that your baby has accidentally or just happened to have pooped in there. And so if your water is more of a yellowy or a dark colour, then that can mean that that's happened. So always let your midwife or your consultant know that that's the case. But in general, if your waters are broken, then is it a gush or is it a trickle? I was chatting to someone last week, he said it was like Niagara Falls. The water was just coming and coming and coming. She's like, oh my goodness, when is this going to stop? And actually, it depends on where the rupture, where the waters have broken within your body, in the sense of where it's happened in the amniotic sac, and also the position of your baby. So if you think about it, if the amniotic sac has come away at the very base, and there's plenty of freedom for the waters to be able to come out, then there might be a gush and it might feel like there's quite a lot of water. And if there's a tiny trickle, it might well be that there is a rupture in the membranes. That's just a phrase, it's completely normal. That is what the waters breaking is called. Then it might be that if the baby's head is pressed down near where the rupture is, that maybe there's just a little trickle, because actually your baby's head is kind of sealing that off. And so there might just be a little bit now and again, but not feel like a big gush. And so it really depends on just your baby's positioning, where the placenta is, what's happening within your own body. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just the way that it works. And then, do I have any more questions on here that I have not already covered? Yes, so what is the best position to sleep in, and is it really bad for me to sleep on my back? Now this is a really important one. So the best position that you can sleep in, particularly from the third trimester onwards, is always your left hand side. You can sleep on your right hand side, but the left hand side is proven to be safer for your baby. So they've done at least 4 studies into this, and the research shows, the science shows, that sleeping on your left hand side ensures a good steady supply of oxygen and nutrients to your baby. When you sleep on your back, then you're compressing one of the major veins called the vena cava, and it can prevent some of that oxygen from coming back through. It can make you feel slightly dizzy or lightheaded. It can make you feel a little bit sick, and it can make you a bit breathless, but ultimately it prevents some of that blood flow from going back through the placenta to your baby, and you really need that blood flow to keep going there so that you have a healthy baby who grows as much as they need to grow to be a good healthy weight. And so as much as possible, always sleep on your left hand side, particularly in the third trimester. Up until the third trimester, you might find yourself a bit more comfortable in different positions. But as your baby bump grows and weighs more, then you will also find that lying on your back just isn't a comfortable one for you. But it is proven to be safer, and if you want to read more about that one, then please do go and have a look at the UK charity Tommy's website. It's excellent, it's got a lot of information on there, and it's not scaremongering, it's just letting you know that sleeping on your left hand side is the best way for your baby to be safe and to be healthy and for you to be comfortable. And if you're thinking, but Sophia, I'm just always going to roll back on my left hand side, how am I going to make that comfortable? Pop a cushion between your knees, pop a cushion or a pillow that goes from your knees right down to your ankles. If you need to put something under your baby bump for support at the side, then go ahead and do that. If you're worried that you're going to keep rolling back over and end up on your back again, then when you're sleeping on your left, you can put a pillow or something here behind you, so that at least if you do roll back, it's taking a bit of your weight and it's got you propped up at a better angle, so that the vena cava, that vein, is not taking the same amount of pressure. And also, chances are, if you roll back onto something in the night, it's going to wake you up. And let's face it, you are up and down to the loo several times a night anyway. So every time you come back, just make sure that you start off sleeping on your left hand side from kind of 28 weeks onwards. The other thing you can also do is if you have longer hair, you can wear a ponytail or a low bun, and you all know what happens if you're lying on your side and then you turn back over and you've got a bun or a ponytail right there. I know whenever I go to teach yoga, if I've got my hair at the back, like, oh, can't do loads of those things. And so that can really help you. But the most important thing to know about sleeping on your side is that the position that you go to sleep in tends to be the position that you sleep in for the longest. And so starting off sleeping on your left hand side should help you to stay in that position for as long as possible. And if when you wake up in the night you realise that you've been sleeping on your back or that you must have moved at some point, try not to panic about it, just move back onto your left hand side. And as long as your baby is still doing everything that they're normally doing, all of their usual kind of movements, and you're feeling well, then just mention it to your midwife. But more than anything, sleep on your left, get a good solid night's sleep, and don't worry about anything else. And last question, what do I have on this list? Can my baby tell if I'm having sex? No. The baby doesn't have a concept of what sex is, but they will, believe it or not, but what they will have is knowledge that you're moving in a certain way and that there are sensations, but what they will sense from the inside is kind of chemical responses that you're having. So you'll be having lots more oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone, the love hormone. It's also a Greek word with its origin meaning speedy birth. And so don't worry, you're not going to suddenly promote labour unless your baby is at the point where they're ready to come out. But no, your baby won't know that you are having sex, that you are doing anything that's in your mind, should I be doing this when there's a baby in there? They're not going to know any of that whatsoever. They will just enjoy the sensations of pleasure that you're feeling through your body, the sounds that you might be making, and any of the natural rhythmic movements that you might be making, and hopefully plenty of laughter as well if you are in that kind of mood. So that's it for today, the pregnancy questions that you might have been too embarrassed to ask. I love answering these because it always gets my brain going in a million different directions, and hopefully there'll be lots of good stuff in there for you too. If you have other questions that you would love to know the answer to, just pop them to me in a message if you don't want to put them publicly on the page, or just put them on the page if you're happy to do that, and I will answer them at some point in another blog or a video for you. So that's it for now. Have an amazing Tuesday, and I will talk to you all again on Thursday when we are talking about something else exciting. Stay tuned for that one. Lots of love. Bye bye for now.